รู้สึกน้อยเนี่ยนะโอเคไม่ใช่ก็ต้องช่วยกัน
เรียบร้อยพูดได้เลย
Okay.
Alright, so we're gonna start again. So continuing this week. Okay, so I continue my talk after interrupted. Okay, so finally I reached the top, the football. After we went through different sports, group fight, and all kind of sports, and then Olympiad and so on, and then finally we reached the football.
Okay.
Okay, so. Okay, so if you remember that the 5 elements that I described, analyzed from the bullfight. So one is spectacle, and second extremity, and third beauty, and then 4 a contrast of elegance versus savage, and then 5 a life of person. And then now we are on the stage of the so then the sports related art is mostly focused on the number 1, number 3, number 5 spectacle and the beauty of the body and the movement, and then the 5 the life of a person. If you remember.
ก็คือจากที่พูดถึงปัจจัยสำคัญ5ประการที่เกี่ยวกับกีฬาสู้วัวมาแล้วนะครับก็จะมีการจ้องมองในการเสียชีวิตความสวยงาม Sorry, what the four element of
The fourth is a contrast between elegance versus savage.
ความขัดแย้งกันระหว่างความสง่างามแล้วก็ความป่าเถื่อนแล้วก็ข้อสุดท้ายก็คือชีวิตของคนสู้วัวนั้นเราก็จะมีประเด็นสำคัญที่จะพูดต่อในประเด็นที่เกี่ยวข้องกับความสามอย่างก็คือผู้ชมและการต้องมองความสวยงามแล้วก็ความสวยงามของการเคลื่อนไหวแล้วก็ชีวิตของผู้เล่นนักบอล
And we look at the 2 films today, and actually the Zidane, the film, the Zidane, the 21st, the portrait. It's actually it has all the 3 elements. There is a spectacle because it was shot during the La Liga, the very normal La Liga game between Real Madrid when he was playing and the other team, Real Madrid Stars or whatever. I think it's not Barca, it's something minor. And so it's very normal Liga game. And so then you see those audience involvement, and also at the same time it's also film focus on the body movement of him, how he plays beautifully, how his body is beautiful. So that's also focus on the beauty. It is very much on only about him and close up on him all the time. So it is not the conventional documentary film.
ชัวร์ข่าวนะคะก็หนังที่จะฉายเนี่ยคือเหมือนกับว่าเป็นสารคดีแต่จริงๆก็คือเหมือนเป็น VOR นะชื่อเรื่องว่าซีดานเป็นผ portrait of the 20th century
ภาพเหมือนของศตวรรษที่
ภาพเหมือนของศตวรรษที่ 21 แล้วก็เขาก็พูดถึงว่ามันจับทั้ง3ประเด็นนะคะทั้งเรื่องของspectacle คือเรื่องของการมองการเป็นถูกการถูกมองหรือการเป็นผู้ที่ต้องมองอะไรอย่างเงี้ยนะเพราะว่าซีดานเนี่ยก็เป็นเกมถ่ายทอดสดนะแล้วก็โฟกัสที่เขาตลอดเวลาโคลสอัพที่ซีดานแล้วก็เป็นเกมธรรมดาทั่วไปไม่ได้เกมกับบาร์ซ่าอะไรเงี้ยอยู่ในลาลิก้าแล้วก็พูดถึงความเคลื่อนไหวความสวยงามของความเคลื่อนไหวของร่างกายของซีดานแล้วก็สุดท้ายก็คือพูดถึงความเป็นความตายของก็คือเป็นเรื่องของชีวิตของเขาในตลอด 90 นาทีของการเล่น
And also the life of Zidane, life of person is number 3 elements. That's what Ajahn Kasem was talking about. That's the only way maybe that artists can really do something about football. So it's really, it's focused on this one player, Zidane. But again, it's not really, it doesn't show anything about his life. So you have to really imagine his life through his movement and so on. So this title is really accurately express what it is, what the film is about, the portrait of 21st century. So it is a portraiture, but in not in this conventional portraiture, but also it's also the it has a traditional sense of portraiture by the artist, but with a new technology because they use I think 17 camera, but very high definition camera, using the best cameraman, the cameraman for Almodovar or Scorsese, or those best cameraman, best camera is focused on this one football player. So this is a really portraiture.
ก็คือที่พูดไปที่จะแสดงเนี่ยก็จะเป็นการที่แบบที่อาจารย์เกษมบอกว่ามันจะแคปเจอร์แค่คนคนเดียวแล้วก็ซึ่งซีดานที่เราจะแสดงให้เห็นเนี่ยโอเคว่าเราจะไม่ได้เห็นชีวิตของเขาทั้งหมดหรอกแต่เราจะจินตนาการผ่านการเคลื่อนไหวของเขาที่เห็นในวิดีโอชุดนี้แล้วก็นี่อาจจะไม่ใช่ภาพเหมือนในเซนส์ปกติแต่ว่าเป็นภาพเหมือนที่ทำขึ้นด้วยเทคโนโลยีสมัยใหม่คือการใช้กล้องที่มีความละเอียดสูงเนี่ย11 ตัวจับการเคลื่อนไหวของเขาตลอดแล้วก็ใช้ช่างกล้องฝีมือดีที่สุดถ่ายไว้
And the other film is called Final Kick. It is focused on the spectacle side, spectators, let's say, but not the spectators in a mass arena, but let's say spectators in different situations. So what this was a film during the 1994 World Cup final between Italy and Brazil, and this was a penalty. It went on the penalty. So this very famous penalty scene when Robert Baggio was to decide the fate of the game, and then so he has this billions of viewers expectation on his back, and so you can imagine if you are him, what the pressure he has. And so this is a project of the very famous German producer, TV producer, Karl Ludwig Leckinger, who had a series in German public television called Kleine Fernsehspiele. It's a small television play, theater, which is a gateway for all those artists, video artists, experimental filmmakers to show their films on TV to a mass audience. So he's a famous producer of it. And so what he did for the football, because again, the football is a very, Europeans, cultural people, they are very much reluctant to take it because it's too popular. So what he did was asking TV producer and TV directors around the world, about 40 of them, just to film how people watch this one scene on the final. And so you can see, some Siberian prison, some prisoners watching, are allowed to watch. It's a very special occasion, so even the prisoners are allowed to watch it. And the Czechoslovakia, Czech Republic already, the monks in the church, they are allowed to watch it. So they watch this. The monks are watching it, and also Guatemala, some Native Americans, they watch on top of the car. They place the camera, the TV monitors onto the top of the cars and so on. So you can see that all those different viewing of this global sports, and so this globality is exactly the globality which is depicted in this film Final Kick is exactly the reason why I started to watch football, because I'm not really interested in sports as per se, and then I wasn't really into football or anything like this, but then because I have to live and work in so many different countries, and then I realized that the football is a very global language, so I can communicate with people around the world through football. If I start talking about football, they respond to me. For example, I come from Czech Republic, and then if I say I'm from Czech Republic, nobody knows. Nobody knows about Czech Republic. Sometimes I said, okay, because sometimes they say, oh, where you come from? I said, Czechoslovakia. Also the same as Lithuanians, they don't know how to react. Yeah, they don't know how to react because they have nothing to, they have no knowledge about it.
What did you say about Czech Republic?
Czech Republic got...
You better say homeland, soft power, or something like that?
Yeah, and then if I say Czech Republic, Poboski. Poboski. Yeah, we know Poboski. Yeah, like he did this amazing goal. This is famous goal from Poboski. This is it's most famous, one of the most historically famous goal he made. So he is remembered from people around the world only by this one goal. Like it was like the goal was, it really went ahead of the player, and then like arch, and then and then into it, and he still remembered from this. So everybody knows it. So this is how I can communicate with the people. So this is how I started, and then this film exactly captured that. And also at the same time, I show this to wherever I go, I show this. That I have to introduce, let's say, media art or video art to the places where the people are not familiar with that media. But if I start showing this, and then it's very approachable for people because of the football topic, and then everybody will watch it. If I show, I don't know, Martha Ross or whatever, like very difficult media artists, and maybe they will run away. But if I start showing it, and then people started to be interested. So that's why I show this in many places.
ก็เรื่องที่สองครับคือ Final Kick ซึ่งเป็นวิดีโอที่บันทึกปฏิกิริยาของแฟนของคนที่ดูนัดชิงบอลโลกปี94ระหว่างบราซิลกับอิตาลีช่วงที่รู้จุดโทษซึ่งบันทึกมาจาก40ประเทศทั่วโลกก็สิ่งที่จะเห็นก็คือมีตั้งแต่พระมีนักโทษในไซบีเรียหรือว่าคนในโกเตมาลาที่มีปฏิกิริยาอย่างไรกับช่วงนั้นซึ่งความที่ฟุตบอลกลายเป็นกีฬาของที่คนทั้งโลกดูกันเนี่ยเป็นสิ่งที่ทำให้เอกบเนี่ยสนใจที่จะมาศึกษาเกี่ยวกับฟุตบอลทั้งที่แต่ก่อนก็ไม่ได้เกี่ยวข้องอะไรกับกีฬานี่เลย
And so this globality is really the additional value to this the one very sport of football. So there are different added value added things about added values to the football. It's not really only about sports, but this globality. That this is something that the artists also have to deal with, and also, of course, this is commercial value. This immense commercial value that Keiko Sei was talking about. This business value, and so that is another thing that it's really very much attached to the football, and then this is also something that the artist has to deal with.
ก็คือความที่โด่งดังไปทั่วโลกของฟุตบอลเนี่ยมันไม่ใช่แค่ตัวกีฬาอย่างเดียวแต่มันสร้างมูลค่าที่มาเพิ่มไปด้วยซึ่งก็เป็นมูลค่าทางการค้าอย่างมหาศาลอย่างที่อาจารย์เกษมเลยอย่างที่อาจารย์เกษมพูดไปเมื่อกี้อีกประเภทค่าเสื้อของไมโครเวฟหรืออะไรประมาณนี้ซึ่งไอ้น่าจะเป็นประเด็นที่ศิลปินจะมาทำงาน
So the question is, what makes a football an art? So that means that what would make a football a gateway for idea? So I was thinking this topic, this subject a lot, and then I can think of these two possibilities.
ก็คือแล้วคำถามก็คืออะไรที่ทำให้ฟุตบอลเป็นศิลปะแล้วก็หรือว่าอะไรที่ทำให้ฟุตบอลเป็นอยู่ในฐานะของประตูของความคิดแล้วก็มีทางออกสองทางกับคำถามนี้คือ
Okay, the first is removing all those so-called added values, like glamorous values, like commercial values, and those aspects, and removing all those things, and then return the football into a very simple playing game. And the Keiko Sei, in today's world, he thinks this is not possible. We have to accept it. But in art, it is possible. So that's what is good about art. And so that's number one possibility. And the second possibility is depicting football as a mirror of the society, today's super consumer society, and offer an audience an opportunity to face that mirror. So that's another possibility. So these are focused on these two extreme propositions.
ก็คือความเป็นไปได้สองทางที่เคโกะเสนอก็คืออันดับแรกก็คือเอาการค้ามูลค่าการค้าทั้งหมดออกไปจากฟุตบอลซึ่งในโลกของความเป็นจริงอย่างที่อาจารย์เกษมบอกไว้ก็คือมันเป็นไปไม่ได้แต่ในกระบวนการทางศิลปะมันมีความเป็นไปได้ที่จะทำอย่างนั้นแล้วก็อีกอย่างหนึ่งก็คือและความเป็นไปได้ที่สองที่จะเอาฟุตบอลกับศิลปะมาเกี่ยวข้องกันก็คือทำให้ฟุตบอลเป็นกระจกสะท้อนสภาพสังคมในยุคการบริโภคนิยมอย่างสุดขั้วอย่างนี้แล้วก็บังคับเป็นสิ่งที่ทำให้ผู้ชมหันกลับมาจ้องมองตัวเองในกระจกบานนี้
And football is a mirror of the society, not even today's society, but in fact it has. This hasn't changed since the dictator, Roman dictator was offering the laymen with bread and circus, right? So that from that time this hasn't changed. So players are treated like a commodity, and they are bought and sold like a slave, or in like slave trade or the meat market, to pay a debt of the club, or to enriching the already rich people even more. And these owners of those slaves, owners' desire is to own the club and the sexy players is to prove his tentacles expanding over different territories, right? So there is this all those owners desire. And on top of those, all those oligarchies are the very dictator. It's a real dictator, which is FIFA president, which is extremely rotten and corrupt. And so much rotten that it's almost like grotesque. Was almost like this really Roman dictator was grotesque. So it is so rotten. And but there is really no transparency in the FIFA. For example, FIFA is something that, some kind of association that emerged itself exactly the same way as IOC. And nobody endorsed them, but they declare themselves that we are controlling the whole football and we are controlling the whole sponsorship. Because when there was now already two dictators in FIFA, which is one Havelange and then Sepp Blatter. As two incredible dictators, and there is no transparency in what they do. And then, for example, when some meeting happens, the members, the FIFA members are given a cash bonus, like $500,000 of cash bonus, just like that, without any receipt, and also the car is given like that all the time. And but then they are completely exempt of any scrutiny, of no legal scrutiny, no legal inspection on them, and it's sometimes they are even subject to bailout. Some maybe association of German football, they are bankrupt, they don't have money, and then the government really. Help them, they bail out with the taxpayers' money. It's so corrupt, but then nobody complains it because it is opium. So there are people are addicted to this game. So they're given the opium, so nobody complains it. So, for example, there is a lot of fighting in Thailand about Channel 3, True Visions, and then True Visions and Grammy, GMM. But the problem is not in Thailand. So problem is a FIFA or UEFA. So all those people in a poor country, they have to fight, within themselves. This is also a mirror. The Grammy too, because FIFA controls everything. And for example, Havelange, when he was dictator. When he was in the power, the FIFA decided that they decide all the sponsorship. The sponsorship that they approach or they approve can be a sponsor. So they decide that everything is controlled by FIFA. And Havelange met the son of Adidas founder. And so the son of the Adidas founder had the promotion PR company. So it's already there's this corruption. This Adidas was already getting this sponsorship. And if you remember, the final between Brazil and France in 1998. If you remember that Brazil was playing very badly, and Ronaldo was almost playing like a ghost, and people wonder. And then it came out, and then Brazil lost that. And then it came out that Ronaldo was so sick, but he was forced to play because of the sponsorship deal. So it was a match not between Brazil and France, but it was actually the Adidas versus Nike. Because Adidas sponsored France, and Nike sponsors Brazil. And Nike is a Warsaw, so they really controlled how many times that their players have to play, and they really control that. So there was a deal so that Ronaldo has to play, although he was almost dying with this illness, and so it is like that. So it is a corrupt